So I think one of the most important things that we have to teach South Africans and public sector officials included is to be conscious, to be mindful. The biggest problem, in my view, in South Africa is not necessarily that there is a problem with legislation and the implementation of legislation. Most of us who are in the public sector, we are just running of the mill. We're just waking up and sleeping and waking up and sleeping. There is no consciousness. We need to reignite consciousness. You know, Steve Biko in the 70s used to refer to this as black consciousness. You see, you could drive from home to work and arrive safely at work driving yourself without being conscious. Because a great deal of that driving yourself from home to work is habit. You know that you turn right here, you turn left here. These robots usually close for 2 seconds and then you go straight. It's habit. That is why sometimes when you are standing at the robots and the robots are red and the taxi driver next to you decides to cross a red robot, you will see 10 other cars following that taxi driver crossing the robot. Those 10 other cars that are following the taxi driver are not conscious. They are not aware that the robot is still red. They are just doing habit. Because they know that normally when one car starts moving, the robots must be green and we all move and they all move. They are not conscious. When you are conscious, it's a completely different ballgame. You notice small things and you make decisions about how those small things impact or do not impact on you. Many of the things public sector officials say are about compliance. The law says we must do this. The law says we must not do that. Do not exist. It is habit. I will tell you about myself. I've been a public sector official now for more than 15 years. Every time I'm at work and I want to implement or do something at work, and I'm told I cannot do it, the first question I always ask is, which law says I cannot do it? Because every time they tell me I can't do things, they say, no, the law doesn't allow. So I always ask, which law says I cannot do this? Then they say, no. PFMA is the biggest culprit. PFMA doesn't allow that. And then I ask them the second question. Can you bring that clause in the PFMA for me to read so that I can be able to conclude that you are correct in your interpretation that it does not allow me to do these things that I want to do? I can tell you then, 99.9% of the time, after that clause has been brought to me and I have read it 3-4 times, it is never true. It is never true that the law does not allow me to do that. In fact, in most of those instances, that 99.9% of the time, I actually become more emboldened that with this clause, I can do this thing much more faster, more effectively, much quicker, with a quicker turnaround. And that is why I'm saying the problem is consciousness. Because we govern by hearsay, we govern by innuendo, we govern by habit. We say, oh, no. The PFMA does not allow you to just appoint a company without going on tender. We say that. It's habit. There's no clause in the PFMA that says you cannot appoint a company without going on tender. There's no such clause. So, the biggest thing that we have to do in our training interventions for public sector employees is to see whether we can reignite their consciousness so that people stop to govern by guesswork and habit and innuendo, but that they are conscious. They know that no, this clause says may, it does not say must. Because you see, that one word in that clause makes all the difference. If it was saying must, it means you have no option, but you must. But if it says may, might, then it means you might be able to do this if you follow through these other things in these ways, and then you make sure that these other things are in place and these other conditions are taken care of and these other elements are properly managed. Maybe when it says may, it says, but you see, if you may do it, but you will need concurrence from National Treasury. You see, so it says you may do it, but inform National. So you do it and inform National Treasury. It does not say you must not. It says you may not unless you inform Treasury. So when you're conscious, you see that may. I can tell you, and it's shocking, you know. I have met CFOs who, when I tell them, this thing says may, it does not say must. They've never seen that may. They say, oh, some of them actually say, no, what's the difference? I mean, but the clause says we must not do it. I say, no. There's nowhere in this clause where there's a word called must. They say, yeah, but we can't do it. So I say, no, you are making the law in your head by habit. This law here says may. Why do you keep on saying, you know, I've argued with people. And I say, but why do you say must when this thing says may? So it is that consciousness. And you see, once you unlock, in my personal view, once you unlock that consciousness, then you're entering a completely different space. Now you can talk innovation. Now you can talk not just compliance, because compliance is a very negative term. You are talking now execution, because we don't want people who do compliance. We want people who execute. The law is not there for you to comply. The law is there for you to execute. So we want people who execute. So once that consciousness is open, then you can then say, no, okay, let me write to Treasury and tell them that I'm going to do this. And then I give them 7 days or whatever days that are reasonable, 15 days to come back to me. If they don't come back to me, you see, if they don't come back to me, because there's a good chance that they might never respond to you, then all I need is proof that I informed them. I run. The day this thing becomes an audit query, I will be able to produce proof that I informed them. I can't control whether they respond or not. But I did the may part that say I may inform Treasury, and I did. And that's why I ran with this thing. Until public servants are conscious, then we can be innovative, we can be able to execute, we can be able to implement, we can do things. And only states that do things are successful. You know, I mean, some of the things I see us constraining ourselves with in South Africa compared to other countries are amazing, you know. I mean, now, for example, you know, the world, I mean, countries are fighting to become leaders in development of semiconductors, you know. The world is obsessed with semiconductors, microchips. What are we obsessed with here? We're obsessed with electricity. I mean, first industrial revolution technology. That's what we're busy with here. So let me stop there.